I'm going to take a break from Slaanesh and go back to one of my fun factions, the old Troggoths, and I'm going to build this fella. And I'm going to build him pretty much like this. But something I've got to do is alter this lot, these mushrooms up here, because I've built one of these before. I can't remember if I've done a video on him. I've done the boss version. Okay. Looking at the spider. Okay, and that's him. If I haven't done a video, yeah, I didn't like the cast spider web, and I've glued on a little bit of clear thread, so he boings around. No, when I did him, I didn't like all these stalactites at all. I didn't like them at all. So what I did was, I can't remember. It's a while since I made this kit. To have him looking that way, I think you have a completely different top of the shoulders with these stalactites. And I think what I did, I have to go back and watch my own video, is I cut all of them off, or cut that section. It's coming back to me, I think. There's a section there which is stalactites, and I cut that out, and I stuck in the one for the regular Troggoth. I can't see the join or how I did it. So yeah, the problem I've now got is, now I'm making him, they both have the same top. So I think what I'm going to have to do is alter this in some way, snip these off and stick them back on in a different configuration, because I don't want them looking the same. Okay, so this is where I've got to make my alterations. This bit here, which is the back there. As you can see, it's part 13 and 9. There's 13. And there is 9. And looking at that piece there, and then looking at my boss, there it is. All right, I can see what I've done now. It is a top shoulder part. And if you look, that fella there, that orange fella there, is just there. And that thing that looks like a chimney is the stalk for the big mushroom there. And I can also see what I did when I was snipping off some of the stalactites that aren't on the stalactite part of this, because I wasn't using part 9, that wee little mushroom with a face I've stuck there. All right, so I think what I'm going to have to do, because I don't want these all in the same place on both of them, is, he's pretty distinctive. I'm going to snip him off, put him somewhere else. I'm going to maybe snip that off or cut that back, and maybe not even have that big mushroom because it's too distinctive. I'm going to move him somewhere else, orange fella somewhere else. This one will be where it's meant to be, which is down on his left shoulder. But I think I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to have a look in my bits box and see if there's anything I can use. Maybe I've got some spare mushrooms, different type of mushrooms. Maybe some spiders. I might bung some spiders on there. I'm going to have a rummage. All right, so that's his shoulders done. He's got a different skyline, if you like, to the other one. I snipped off that large one. And I'd forgotten, it wasn't until I carried on building him. Later on, you have a number of spare mushrooms that you can scatter around. But I think these all came from leftover ones from my Loon Shrine kit. So that's good. I'm pleased with that. He's got a completely different shoulder area to the other one. And in assembly, I made sure that I went for an open mouth Troggoth, because the other guy is closed-mouthed. You get 3 different types of ears. So I've gone for these ones which have mushrooms growing out the top of them. He's got this cannon as a necklace. Looking forward to painting that. And yeah, I wasn't aware, but you get 2 different types of club. This one, if I turn it around and if you look at it upside down, is actually the head off of what looks like a dwarf statue. So that's going to be fun to paint. And talking about painting, it's out with a blue tack yet again. There's no way I can get behind that cannon to paint his belly, and there's no way I can get properly behind his stick to get to the legs. So head is blue tacked on, cannon is blue tacked in place, and the hands are blue tacked to the arms. It's going to be a bit tricky to do the old painting thing. I think when I reach the point of putting on washes and dry brushing, I'm going to have to reattach the hands for anything like that. The head should be all right. It's a tight enough join, and you've got the cord, the rope for his necklace disguising that, and also he's got his big ears as well. So that should be all right. But yeah, I've got to take those off, and yeah, when it gets to the dry brushing of the arm area, I'm going to have to each time blue tack the hands back on. But that's all right. I've got tons of blue tack. Blue tack seems to be synonymous with all my Games Workshop builds, so I've always got a big supply. All right, I'll come back when I've primed him and based him in, well, whatever colour I'm deciding to paint him, because one thing I don't want to do yet again is replicate what I did on that one. I want them to look, both of them, completely different to one another. Right, so there he is, base coated. He's in a colour I don't think they do anymore, called Elysian Green, which is a nice yellow green. I've gone for that because it's a marked different green to the Troggboss, and with the Troggboss I've washed him down. The next stage was to wash him down with Nuln Oil. I'm going to do that on this one, but Nuln Oil mixed down with medium, so it's nowhere near as dark as the boss, and hopefully some of this nice yellowness will stay. All right, so there's the Nuln Oil watered down. Oh, got a bit of pool in there. You see how wet that still is. I've got to dab that off. So he's drying, and then once he's done, start some dry brushing on him. All right. I forgot to say, I'm also working on the accessories. Here's his cannon necklace, and what I've done here is, again, to just try and make a difference between him and my existing boss, is use a colour that's not on my existing boss. So I've done him as a rusty cannon with an awful lot of verdigris. So next I've got to pick out his cord, and he's got mushrooms growing out the barrel. So I'm going to be painting those soon. And you know, we've got a guest star today. I was just having a sort out. I'm getting so many troops now. I'm running out of spaces, so I'm clearing the drawers out, and look, I come across this fella, all right, which is the old fine cast, fail cast loon boss on giant cave squig. And yeah, but I haven't got, well, I have got one, and I'll show you now if it was to hand. I have got one of the newer versions, and I've done him up as a Christmas pudding. I'll show you that one to you later on. But yeah, this is the original one, and boy, doesn't that look old. Oh dear. But I've got him, and you can see he's on the old square base. Time for a repaint, I think. I mean, but I'm not going to be keeping him. I mean, look at the state of that. Oh dear. So I'm going to snap him, more than likely I'm going to knacker his feet, but I'm going to break him off of the base, put him on a round base, spraying with some primer, and we're going to start all over again with that chap. So this is our guest star, who'll be popping back to see how the big boy's getting on. All right, that's his basic skin tones done. Shopping list. So I had the Elysian green washed with a very thin Nuln oil. Then I dry brushed the Elysian green. All right. And then what happened next? Nurgling green, dry brushed Nurgling green in patches pretty much all over, especially down in his belly to lighten his belly up. Then Niblet green, which is quite an intense green. I just randomly blotched that on in places. And then I went over to the reds and a thing called, is it Rizzler Rust? So I did that on his head and feet and hands. Can't show you the hands at the moment, and belly. And then over that, to just take that back a bit, some Troggoth orange. And then finally, it's more intense than it's making out under this light, but Astaroth red, just dappled that on the belly and the nose and his buttocks. All right, so that's the basic skin tones done. All right, I've got to warm things up now in crevices and orifices and things like that. And the other bit of progress is, yeah, I snipped him off without damaging his feet. Just snipped off around his feet, and then I've just put a blob of hot glue and hot glued him to a nice round base. Right, cracked right on. Not too much more to do now. Well, at least with the initial colours, the regular colours. As you see, I've done the mouth. I've just got to pick the teeth out, because once I've done the regular colours, I've got quite a slog of picking out every bit of fungus and mushroom and boil in a different colour. All right. I think next thing is to actually remove the head, because it is still blue tacked. Actually, let's do it now, like that, because then I can get in there and I can more easily get to the eyes and the back of the mushrooms and stuff like that. And also now, the head's off, there's a couple of areas where the paintbrush just couldn't get to. So that's that. I've put some pebbles down, glued them down in preparation for putting the scatter material. Getting on with his club. All right, that's the dwarf face done. I've painted the log brown, and I'm going to be putting a contrast over that. All right, and yes, I think that's it. Oh, and little fella here, I've primed him. I'm going to go for a two-tone for the cave squig. Absolutely no way is it going to be red. I don't like red squigs, far too common. Yeah, cracking on. Right, that's all the fungus areas picked out in a fleshy colour. I'm going to be doing all like the puffballs and the spores before tackling the fun bit of all the mushrooms. And this fella is coming along. All right, well, I've washed the all the spores and the little fungally things like that in Agrax Earthshade. In some of them, I'm going to water down. I think what I did, they appeared darker on this one. I think what I did, I can see there's some Nurgle's Rot or something down in that one. I think I darkened them down some more. There's lots of Nurgle's Rot on his boils there. I'm out of Nurgle's Rot, so this new one is less spotty. I think I put some Nuln oil. I've darkened them down even more. I think what I was trying to do is just make a difference between all these like spores and the stalks of the mushrooms. So work continues on that. And regarding the mushrooms, you can see I've base coated them in various colours. All right, so they look a bit daft at the moment, but the washes will take care of that. As you can see, the iron's in place, the cannon's in place, and that the head is in place. Once I'm happy with the colours on these, I'm going to make these all like on the boss there. I'm going to make those glossy again to make them stand out from the regular mushrooms, and also I've got to gloss up his eye and his mouth. All right, and also work is continuing on this fella. Gone with a two-tone, just put some spots there. This hasn't been washed, so it looks a bit garish, as does his yellow robes. I just wanted him to be different to how he was before. And I've already glued in place quite a few rocks. This is a cave squig, so he's coming out of a cave. And there we go. There's the chap done. Okay. I'm really, really pleased with how he comes out. I do love the old Troggoths. Yeah, and I like also when doing another version of something I've already got, working out how to do things differently. And I'm quite pleased if I put him alongside his boss. You can see that the colour schemes are quite different. Yeah, so no, great fun, great fun. I would like to get a third one, but these are the two options, either him or him, and you have a different head, so I can do a different head, a closed mouth version of him, and different ears, but this arm is always the same, okay, and you have a different head to the club. But I'm thinking what I might do if I make a third one is not have the boss, but have a Troggoth, but actually use that arm, that raised arm, and put the club in that arm. Either cut that off and put that on, or find one out of my bits box, or find a branch, a small branch from outside or something. And then I've got to work out what I'm going to do with his other hand. And I can't replicate that because that looks silly. But maybe, I don't know, something. I'll have a ponder. So there you go. That's him all done. Oh, and also the my tweaked loom boss on giant cave squig.